6 days ago, wildlife photographer Clara Voss reached out to touch a bleached white leaf in an uncharted forest. Within seconds, her skin didn't bleed, it creased. Her entire carbon-based body forcefully evolved, folding into a series of flawless, two-dimensional geometric planes. Welcome to the Origami Forest. This isn't magic. It is the most terrifying speculative evolution event on Earth. A rogue ecosystem where nature has discarded soft tissue and fluids in favor of pure, razor-sharp geometric efficiency. Here, a simple white butterfly vibrates at a frequency that can slice through reinforced steel. In this biome, predators don't bite, they fold. What happens when biology rewrites the laws of physics? Let's enter the zone. To enter this territory is to step into a world that has lost its depth. The trees do not have bark or soft leaves. They are composed of white, fibrous planes that intersect at impossible angles. When the wind moves through the canopy, the sound isn't a rustle of foliage, but a deafening chorus of dry, rhythmic crinkles, like 1,000 heavy pages being turned at once. Every branch is a sequence of sharp creases, and every leaf is a wafer-thin sliver of cellulose that can divide the air with the efficiency of a surgical instrument. The atmosphere itself feels parched, stripped of the humidity that usually accompanies a dense woodland, replaced by a fine, chalky dust that settles on the lungs like powdered bone. The transformation began at the microscopic level, a structural shift that researchers still struggle to categorize. It appears as though the carbon-based life forms within the zone have undergone a process of radical flattening. Cells are no longer rounded or fluid. They have become crystalline and planar, folding over themselves in complex, repeating patterns. This isn't a decay or a disease in the traditional sense, but a fundamental realignment of matter. The biological becomes geometric. The soft becomes structural. The forest doesn't want to consume you. It wants to reformat you. A team of surveyors sent into the heart of the sector months ago left behind a log that described the sensory disorientation of the environment. They noted that the colors were the first things to go. Greenery faded into a harsh, bleached ivory. The brown of the earth turned into a flat, matte gray. By the third day, the very shadows looked different, harsh, angular, and devoid of gradients. One surveyor wrote that the sunlight didn't feel warm anymore. It felt like it was bouncing off a million tiny mirrors, creating a glare that made it impossible to judge distance or scale. In the Origami Forest, a mountain might be a pebble, and a blade of grass might be as tall as a man, depending on how the light catches the folds. The creatures that inhabit this space are perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the phenomenon. A deer-like entity was observed near the center of the anomaly. It didn't move with the fluid grace of a mammal. Instead, it unfolded. Its limbs moved in stiff, hinged increments, its body a collection of interlocking white plates that shifted and slid against one another. When it sensed the observers, it didn't run. It simply collapsed its structure into a flat, two-dimensional shape and vanished into the white undergrowth. There was no scent and no sound other than the dry friction of its paper-thin hide. These origami predators are masters of the environment. They do not hunt with teeth or claws, but with their entire bodies. A bird in this forest does not peck. It dives like a falling razor, its wings honed to a microscopic edge that can part the fibers of a protective suit without the wearer even feeling the breach. It is a silent, painless intrusion. Most people who have wandered into the fringes of the forest don't realize they have been affected until they notice the thin, clean lines across their equipment, or the way their own skin begins to lose its suppleness, turning pale and brittle as the transformation takes hold. There is a theory that the forest is a localized manifestation of a higher dimensional fold, a place where the universe has been creased like a map. If you look at a piece of paper, it is a three-dimensional object, but to an ant crawling on its surface, it is a world. If you fold that paper, you bring two distant points together. The origami forest may be the point of the fold, a place where the structural integrity of our reality has become so thin that it is forced to reorganize itself into these minimalist, razor-sharp forms. It is a world of efficiency, where everything that is unnecessary, fluidity, warmth, weight, is discarded in favor of pure, geometric precision. The danger of the forest isn't just in the sharpness of the leaves or the speed of the paper-thin predators. The true threat is the atmospheric shift. The air inside the zone is filled with microscopic airborne filaments, shards of biological paper that are inhaled with every breath. Once inside the body, these filaments act as a scaffolding. They begin to influence the surrounding tissue, encouraging the cells to align with their flat, geometric structure. Those who have spent too long near the border report a sensation of stiffness, a feeling that their joints are becoming hinged and their skin is becoming dry and inelastic. They describe the realization that they are becoming less like people and more like the environment they are observing. Imagine a world where a light breeze can be lethal. In the origami forest, a sudden gust of wind turns the entire landscape into a chaotic storm of white blades. The falling leaves don't drift to the ground. They cut through the air, and anything in their path is meticulously sectioned. During one such wind event, a remote-controlled rover was sent in to retrieve data. The footage showed a blizzard of white shapes, a frantic, beautiful dance of geometry. Within seconds, the rover's heavy-duty casing was covered in thousands of microfissures. It didn't explode or crumple. It simply disintegrated into a pile of flat, gray confetti. There is a haunting beauty to the silence of the zone. There are no insects buzzing, no water flowing, and no wind whistling through branches. There is only the sound of the fold. It is a quiet, rhythmic ticking, like a clock made of parchment. Some believe this sound is the forest itself expanding, the sound of new layers of reality being creased into existence. Every second, the perimeter of the forest grows by a fraction of a millimeter, a slow, inevitable march of white paper over the vibrant, messy world of the living. The psychological toll on those tasked with monitoring the forest is immense. They speak of the white glare, a condition where the eyes struggle to process a world without curves or shadows. The mind craves the organic, the roundness of a fruit, the softness of a cloud, or the uneven texture of a stone. In the origami forest, everything is a straight line or a sharp angle. It is a world designed by a mathematician with a razor, a place that feels unfinished, yet perfectly executed. It challenges the human brain's ability to perceive depth, leading to a sense of profound vertigo that can cause a person to fall. And falling in a forest of blades is a mistake one only makes once. What happens to the consciousness of a creature that becomes folded? If the body becomes a series of planes and creases, does the mind follow suit? There are reports of voices heard near the edge of the forest, but they don't sound like human speech. They sound like the friction of paper on paper, a dry, whispering language of rustling and clicks. It is a terrifying thought that the people lost in the forest haven't died, but have simply been translated into a new, thinner form of existence. They are still there, standing among the white trees, folded into the geometry of the landscape, waiting for someone to come close enough to be folded in with them. The authorities have designated the area a total exclusion zone, not because of a virus or radiation, but because of the structural contagion. You cannot fight a forest that turns your own armor into a weapon against you. You cannot burn it, for the paper-thin wood does not catch fire in the traditional sense. It smolders with a cold, white light, releasing a smoke that is even more saturated with the transformative filaments. It is a self-protecting ecosystem, a fortress of ivory blades that requires no guards and no walls. As the sun sets over the origami forest, the scene is breathtaking. The white trees catch the dying light, turning shades of pale gold and bruised purple along their sharp edges. For a moment, it looks like a masterpiece of art, a delicate, fragile world of incredible craftsmanship. But then the wind picks up, and the dry, rhythmic crinkling begins. The paper birds take flight, their wings humming with that high-frequency vibration. You realize then that the beauty is a byproduct of a terrifying efficiency. The forest isn't trying to be beautiful. It is simply what happens when life is stripped of its substance and reduced to its most basic, sharpest planes. There are no survivors from the heart of the forest, only the observations of those who stood on the edge and watched the world turn white. They speak of the paper cut effect, a phenomenon where reality itself seems to tear. They describe seeing the sky through the gaps in the leaves and realizing that the sky, too, looks flat, like a blue backdrop in a theater. It suggests a possibility that the forest isn't changing the world, but is revealing what the world has always been, a thin, fragile sheet of existence that can be folded, cut, or torn at any moment. The mystery of the Origami Forest remains unsolved, a silent, growing enigma at the edge of our map. It is a place that asks us what it means to be solid, what it means to have depth, and what happens when those things are taken away. We are accustomed to a world of weight and soft edges, of fluid movement and organic growth. We are not prepared for a world that is light, sharp, and geometric. We are not prepared for a world that can be folded into a shape we no longer recognize. Every day, the white perimeter moves a little further. Every day, another tree turns into a collection of ivory planes. The birds of paper fly a little higher, their sharp wings glinting in the sun. We watch from behind our fences, hoping that the folding stops, hoping that the universe doesn't decide it is time for another crease. Because if the world is truly just a sheet of paper, then we are all just drawings on its surface, and the forest is the blade that knows exactly where to cut. The Origami Forest doesn't hunt out of malice. It is simply the ultimate, brutal peak of evolutionary efficiency. A silent revolution turning the messy chaos of biological life into clean, sharp lines. And the most terrifying part? Every single day, the perimeter of this white forest expands by a fraction of a millimeter. So we have to ask you, if the rules of evolution changed tomorrow, and you saw this wave of bleached ivory advancing toward your city, hearing the sound of 1,000,000 heavy pages turning in the wind, would you try to run? Or would you stay to see what shape you take once you are folded? Drop your theories in the comments below. Do you think this is a natural biological mutation or something engineered? If you want to survive the darkest possibilities of nature, make sure to hit that subscribe button to What If Animals. We decode the terrifying frontiers of speculative evolution every week. Until next time, stay clear of the white trees.